Today I'm here to show you some of my vintage handmade leather products and how they stand the test of time and still look brand new after decades. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jan Hibbert, and I have been creating handmade leather goods since 1977. Although you can't see it very well here, this leather vest I am wearing is the first leather piece I ever created back in 1977. This is what got me started and sparked my interest in working with leather. And I still wear it today, which is another amazing factor that it still fits. The only thing I've really done to it is I took a buckle off the back because that was really uncomfortable driving and so forth like that. But this is one of the things that I want to say, my products stand the test of time. This weekend, June 21st and 22nd, I will be at a show called the Vintage Bazaar, which is why I thought I would highlight some of the vintage things I have. Although these vintage items will not be for sale, what they do highlight is that my products stand the test of time. They are durable, they are functional, and they are inspired by nature, which is also what I will show you in this video. So obviously the vest is not inspired by nature. Shortly after I made the vest, I did make this leather jacket for my husband. So this was finished in 1978. It was a jacket for him to ride his motorcycle. It is motorcycle weekend here where I live in New Hampshire. And this was designed for him. Unfortunately, when I made it, and again, these are one of the few things that I actually made from a pattern. So these were simplicity patterns. I learned to sew in home ec in high school. That's the only thing I ever learned about sewing. He was in the basic training, so he was down south and was not around to measure. It's a little bit short in the body for him, so when you sit on the bike and you're riding, it's a little too short on his back, but still wearable. I wear it if I have the opportunity to ride and so forth. Beautifully quilted lining. It's got batting lining inside. It's got pockets on the inside and the outside, and this was made in 1978. Still haven't done much to it or anything like that. It's still in beautiful shape. So again, my products stand the test of time. These two things are all hand sewn, still holding up. Another thing, of course, when you first started, I guess this is another thing I made from a pattern, trying to find my way. I soon found out that the clothing things were not the things I wanted to make because I love to paint and carve and do that kind of thing. So one of the other things I found early on was things to make moccasins. So this was something I made back in the 80s. These are moccasins I made for myself, again, with a floral design on it. So that was one of my earlier flower designs that went on to be very popular on my belts and so forth. So I had made those. I don't know what year. Wallets was something I used to sell a lot of. But again, as time went on, it became more expensive to carve the pictures and people didn't want to spend the money. Also, people are very particular about the style of their wallets and things like that. So it became hard to keep up with what people had. But this is what I made for my father, had loons on it. Again, my father was really rough on things, so he was a good test of things. He loved all the products I made, though. And again, the stitching and so forth held up. And the painting is an original carving. Again, all my wallets would have one-of-a-kind scenes. So again, like I said, my dad loved my things. This was another thing I made for my dad. This was made in 1980. Now, this was designed for his tennis racket. So he had an oversized tennis racket. So that stuck out here and would hold, there's a pocket inside to put the bag, the container. You'd have your tennis balls back then and to put, your towel and extra clothes and things like that in your bag. So this was made for him. After that, I also made I made a couple custom bags that had similar picture to this, but a round pocket, not made to hold the tennis racket. So customized from this. So another quality of my products is I will do custom work. There aren't too many people out there that will do that as much, And so again, new original pattern, original design. The style of the bag is something I created. It wasn't from any kind of pattern. So I did start making my own patterns. This was something I made for my mother, which was also something the pictures were from patterns I got from a book called Make It With Leather, which was something that had all sorts of patterns last years ago. And these are some of the very few that were this size. A lot of the patterns were like huge pictures and stuff to make, wall carvings that were massive size. And number one, this was before computers, so it wasn't like you could resize it or anything like that. So these were some of the few patterns were actually a size that I liked. And after that, it inspired me to go on and create my own patterns with the birds and things and so forth. And once computers came along, of course, I could resize it. So this was something called a desk organizer, I called it. My mother had something like this sitting on her desk to put papers and things in and so forth. This is something I made for a long time, not doing too much with anymore because they're just more expensive and people, it's not the type of things people are interested in anymore. Another thing which goes a little bit away from the nature inspired. So the birds have always been an important aspect. The loons in particular are my favorite, and you'll see more of that later. But the one aspect I haven't talked about is belts, and belts with tool design. So these are not always nature. Now, this was one I had done for my father that did have loons on it years ago. My father passed in 2007, and these belts were made, I would say, in the 70s and 80s. This was I would say 77 or 78, because this is one of my original tool designs. It is based on a design from a book, but modified because I didn't have all the tools that they had. And so this has inspired me to create my own designs. So belts, I'm also wearing a belt, which I know you probably can't see on camera here. Is a design that I came up with, kind of a Western style, where it's, larger in the front here. It has instead of a buckle, it has these hooks, but it doesn't have anything at your waist to be uncomfortable and so forth. So these are all things that I've had. Again, all of these I know were made in the 70s or the 80s. They've been, I've had them for a long time. These are family items, so they are not things that are for sale. So at the Vintage Bazaar, I will not be selling any of these items. But again, I sometimes display them to show that things last. A couple other things that I made, and these I would continue to make if I could find somebody to make the frames and so forth. This is a clock, and I used to, Tandy Leather used to sell all different kinds of clock frames and so forth, kits. And so this would be a kit. The picture that I did in the center would be something I created myself. I did lots of clocks with moose and bear and deer and owls and so forth. But again, I can't find a frame where this piece won't stick out in the back and so forth. So I have a real hard time with that now. I can't find anything that's really suitable for what I want. But anyways, this was made a long time ago for my parents. It used to hang in a place on Winnipesaukee. Both of my parents are gone, and so it was a place on Winnipesaukee. But again, that's where I learned to love the loons. And this was made from a kit. This really does look brand new. This is made for my father-in-law, who was a state trooper, and so had some rifles and things like that. Was also a hunter and fisherman and things like that. So for his hunting, this was made from a kit, not something I was planning on selling. These floral designs were an earlier design because that's what all the books had. And and a lot of times they'd have something like this with the flowers with a horse's head sticking out in the middle. And to me, that didn't make sense, because where would you see a horse sticking its head out through a bush of flowers? So not realistic to me. So this is where I soon went on to carve my own thing. So this was an earlier piece because I was using a ready-made pattern that came with this. But again, I do have to say this really does look like it's brand new. And I have one last item to show you. And again, once again, Vintage Bazaar is a Kimball Farm in Haverhill, Mass. It's 725 East Haverhill, Mass. It runs June 21st and 22nd. On the Saturday, it actually starts early, 8:30 to 4. Sunday, it goes from 10 to 3. Again, all my products will be brand new products that I will be selling. They are all one of a kind. Certain things, like some of my tote bags and so forth, do sell out fast because I only have one of them. I do have one desk organizer with penguins on it that will be part of the collection. I have a seaside collection that just is launching Friday, so all those will be available at the event and so forth, based on the ocean and ocean animals. So again, runs from Saturday 8:30 to 4, Sunday 10 to 3. Kimball Farm, it's a Vintage Bazaar craft fair. Kimball Farm, 725 East Haverhill, Massachusetts. Again, I will check out Log Cabin Leather. And one last item I'm going to show you here so you'll know what to look for. This is my more current catalog that shows my house. So look for anything that has a symbol of this log cabin on it, which is what my logo is. Has a log cabin, does not have the bear or anything. It just has the house itself. But that is an actual picture of my house, and my logo is based on my house, and so forth. And I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.